Good evening, everyone. I'm coming to you live with breaking developments about the fourth stimulus check that millions of Americans on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and fixed incomes are asking about. Right now, tonight, July 15th, 2025, I need to tell you something critical that affects your wallet directly. Before we dive deep, this is for educational purposes only. I'm not giving you individualized financial, tax, or legal advice. You need to consult a qualified professional for your specific situation. If you're here because you're worried about your fixed income, hit that like button right now, and if you haven't already, subscribe and ring that notification bell. I'm going to break down everything you need to know in the next 16 minutes. Here's what I need you to understand immediately. As of today, July 15th, 2025, there is no U.S. law that authorizes a new $1,400 fourth stimulus check. I know that's not what you want to hear, but I'm going to tell you the truth, not what gets clicks. What is happening right now is much more significant for your long-term financial security. The Social Security Administration is celebrating the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill, a landmark piece of legislation that delivers long-awaited tax relief to millions of older Americans. Under the One Big Beautiful Bill, the vast majority of senior citizens, 88% of all seniors who receive Social Security, will pay no tax on their Social Security benefits.
Millions of older Americans. Under the One Big Beautiful Bill, the vast majority of senior citizens, 88% of all seniors who receive Social Security, will pay no tax on their Social Security benefits. The economy is sending mixed signals right now. The Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers increased 0.3% on a seasonally adjusted basis in June, after rising 0.1% in May, and the Consumer Price Index rose 2.4% on an annual basis in May 2025, up from 2.3% in April. That means inflation is creeping back up and it's hitting your grocery bill, your utilities, everything you buy. And I know many of you are struggling. You're watching your Social Security check by less each month. You're seeing your fixed income stretched thinner. The questions flooding my inbox tell the whole story. When will the fourth stimulus check arrive? Will Congress approve more payments? How do I make ends meet on $1,200 a month? Over the next 14 minutes, I'm going to give you the complete picture. No clickbait, no false hope, just the real information you need to make informed decisions about your financial future. We'll cover what Congress is actually debating, what the Federal Reserve is doing with interest rates, and most importantly, what you can do right now to protect your purchasing power. Just this week, there's been significant movement in Washington. The reserves of the combined OASI and DI trust funds declined by $67 billion in 2024 to a total of $2.72 trillion, according to the Social Security Administration's latest report to Congress. This affects every single person receiving Social Security benefits. The most common questions I'm getting: is there any chance for a fourth stimulus check? What about state payments? How do I handle rising costs? I'm going to answer every single one of these questions with facts, not speculation. In the next segment, I'll share a personal story from one of your fellow viewers that perfectly captures what millions of Americans are experiencing right now. Then we'll dive into what's actually happening in Congress, what the White House is saying, and why the economy is behaving the way it is. But first, let me tell you about something that could be more valuable than any stimulus check. I want to talk directly to you for a moment. If you're living on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Your monthly check stays the same, but everything else keeps getting more expensive. And it's like your grocery bag keeps getting lighter and lighter, even though you're spending the same amount. You walk into the store with your $100 and somehow you're walking out with half the groceries you used to get. That's not your imagination. That's inflation eating away at your fixed income. I see the comments every single day. People asking if there's any relief coming, if Washington understands what you're going through. The truth is, some lawmakers do understand, but the political reality is complicated. Let me share something that came into my inbox yesterday. Margaret from Phoenix writes, I'm 72 years old and I've been on Social Security for 7 years. My monthly check is $1,186. After my Medicare premium gets deducted, I have about $1,020 left. My rent alone is $650. I'm rationing my medications because I can't afford to fill all my prescriptions. I keep hearing about stimulus checks, but I never got the last one. What am I supposed to do? Margaret, if you're watching, you're not alone. There are millions of Americans in your exact situation right now. And this is precisely why I'm doing this live stream tonight, because you deserve straight answers, not political games. Here's what's actually happening in Washington right now. Congress isn't debating a fourth stimulus check. Instead, they're focused on three major issues that affect your Social Security and fixed income. First, there's ongoing discussion about the Social Security Trust Fund. The trustees project that the trust fund reserves will be depleted in 2034 if no action is taken. That's 9 years away, but it's driving urgent conversations about long term solutions. Second, the Federal Reserve has been adjusting interest rates to combat inflation. The Fed funds rate currently sits at 5.25%, which affects everything from your savings account to borrowing costs. Fed Chair Jerome Powell recently stated that they're watching inflation data closely, and any rate changes will depend on economic conditions. Third, there's been significant movement on tax relief for seniors. The One Big Beautiful Bill I mentioned earlier removes federal taxes on Social Security benefits for 88% of recipients. This isn't a one time payment, it's ongoing tax relief that could save you hundreds or thousands of dollars every year. I need to be completely honest with you about fourth stimulus check prospects. The political appetite for another round of direct payments simply isn't there right now. Both parties in Congress are focused on deficit reduction and targeted relief rather than broad based stimulus payments. The economy is in a different place than it was in 2020 and 2021. Unemployment is relatively low, but inflation remains a concern. Policymakers are more focused on addressing specific problems like Social Security taxation and Medicare costs rather than sending out universal checks. But here's what is working in your favor right now. The Social Security Administration announced that the 2025 cost of living adjustment COLA was 2.5%, which means your monthly benefits increase to help offset inflation. While that might not feel like enough, it's automatic protection built into the system. Additionally, the IRS has been expanding programs for seniors. The Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, VITA program, now serves more locations specifically focused on helping older Americans maximize their tax benefits and claim credits they might be missing. Tap that like button if this information is helping you understand what's really happening. And drop a comment below. Tell me what your biggest financial concern is right now. I read every single comment, and your questions help me create content that actually matters to your life. In the next segment, I'm going to break down the economic data that's driving all these decisions. We'll look at inflation numbers, employment statistics, and what the Federal Reserve is really thinking. I'll also explain why some economists think we might see targeted relief for specific groups rather than universal payments. But first, let me tell you about a trend I'm seeing that could affect your benefits. Let me break down the economic data that's shaping every decision in Washington right now. These numbers directly impact your Social Security, your purchasing power, and any chance of additional relief. First, let's talk about inflation because it's the single biggest threat to your fixed income right now. The Consumer Price Index rose 2.4% annually in May 2025, up from 2.3% in April. That might sound small, but for someone on a $1,200 monthly Social Security check, that's an extra $29 per month in costs. The core PCE, that's the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation measure, shows underlying price pressures remain persistent. Let me explain what core PCE means in plain English. It's the price changes for goods and services, excluding food and energy, because those prices jump around a lot. The Fed watches this number closely because it tells them if inflation is really cooling down or just taking a temporary break. Here's something that might surprise you. The unemployment rate is currently 4.1%, which economists consider very low. But here's the catch. Most of these jobs are going to younger workers, and many older Americans who want to work are struggling to find age appropriate employment. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that workers over 55 have an unemployment rate of 3.2%, but their labor force participation rate dropped significantly since the pandemic. This matters because it means fewer people are contributing to Social Security, which affects the trust fund we talked about earlier. Now, let me show you why the Federal Reserve is making the decisions they're making and how it affects your daily life. The Fed funds rate sits at 5.25% right now. Here's what that means in plain English: banks charge each other this rate for overnight loans, and it affects every other interest rate in the economy. When this rate is high, it's harder to borrow money, but you earn more on your savings.
For you on fixed income, this is actually a double-edged sword. If you have savings in a high yield account, you're earning more interest than you have in years. But if you need to borrow money or use credit cards, it's more expensive. I'm showing you a simple chart on screen right now that illustrates how your purchasing power has changed over the past 3 years. In 2022, your $1,000 Social Security check bought what $1,000 worth of goods cost. Today, that same $1,000 buys what $920 worth of goods cost in 2022 dollars. Let me tell you about something that's not making headlines but should be: the hidden costs that are crushing fixed income Americans. Housing costs for seniors increased 4.8% over the past year, significantly higher than the overall inflation rate. Medicare Part B premiums increased by $10.30 per month for 2025, and Part D prescription drug costs are rising faster than general inflation. This creates what economists call senior-specific inflation. The costs that matter most to older Americans are rising faster than the general price level. That's why your Social Security COLA of 2.5% doesn't feel like it's keeping up, because it's measured against general inflation, not senior-specific costs. Here's the critical number everyone's talking about. The combined Social Security trust funds have $2.72 trillion in reserves as of 2024, but they're declining by about $67 billion per year. At this rate, the trust funds will be depleted in 2034. What does depleted mean in plain English? It doesn't mean Social Security disappears. It means the program could only pay about 80% of scheduled benefits from incoming payroll taxes. So if you're receiving $1,200 now, you might receive about $960 if nothing changes. Now, let me connect all these numbers to what you're experiencing at the grocery store and the gas pump. ... These economic numbers translate directly into your daily life. When the Fed keeps interest rates high to fight inflation, it slows down the economy. Companies hire fewer workers, which should reduce wage growth and cool down price increases. But here's the problem. Many of the price increases you're seeing aren't from too much demand. They're from supply chain disruptions, corporate pricing decisions, and global events that high interest rates can't fix. Energy costs, which aren't included in that core PCE number, are particularly volatile. Gasoline prices have fluctuated between $3.20 and $4.10 per gallon over the past 6 months, directly affecting your transportation costs and the prices of everything that gets shipped. This economic environment is precisely why Congress isn't considering broad stimulus payments. Policymakers worry that putting more money into the economy right now could reignite inflation, making your fixed income buy even less. Instead, they're focused on targeted approaches: the Social Security tax relief I mentioned, Medicare reforms, and programs that specifically help seniors without adding to overall debt.
Let me tackle the 3 most common questions I'm getting in the comments and emails. Question #1. Is there any chance Congress will approve a 4th stimulus check before the end of 2025? Based on current political dynamics and economic conditions, the chance is extremely low. Both parties are focused on targeted relief rather than universal payments. The closest thing to broad relief is the Social Security tax elimination, which affects 88% of seniors. Question #2. What should I do if my Social Security and other fixed income isn't covering my basic expenses? First, check if you're receiving all the benefits you're entitled to. Many seniors miss out on SNAP benefits, Medicaid, utility assistance, and property tax relief programs. Contact your local area agency on aging for a benefits screening. Second, look into the Medicare Extra Help program if you're paying too much for prescription drugs. Question #3. Should I be worried about Social Security running out of money in 2034? The trust fund depletion doesn't mean Social Security disappears. Even if nothing changes, the program could pay about 80% of scheduled benefits from incoming payroll taxes. But Congress has never allowed benefits to be cut, and they're already discussing solutions. The political pressure to fix this problem is enormous. Drop a key 47 inches in the comments if you're more concerned about inflation than you are about getting another stimulus check. Drop a 25 inches if you think Congress should focus on Social Security reform instead of stimulus payments. I'm watching these numbers and they help me understand what content you need most. Before we wrap up, I need your help to keep this information flowing to people who need it. If this live stream helped you understand what's really happening with your money, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I'm going to keep bringing you straight talk about Social Security, inflation, and economic policies that affect your daily life. Use the share button to send this to anyone you know who's asking about stimulus checks or struggling with fixed income challenges. Knowledge is power, and everyone deserves accurate information. I've created a complete playlist covering Social Security benefits, Medicare changes, and tax strategies for seniors. The link is in the description below. The comment section below is where we support each other. Share your experiences, ask questions, and help your fellow Americans navigate these challenging times. I want to thank everyone who joined me live tonight. I know these aren't easy topics, and I know many of you are dealing with real financial stress. My commitment to you is that I'll keep bringing you facts, not false hope, and practical information you can use. Remember, you're not alone in this. Millions of Americans are facing the same challenges you are, and we're all figuring this out together. I'll be covering the upcoming Federal Reserve meeting, breaking down the latest Medicare changes, and explaining new IRS programs that might save you money. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of these updates. Once again, everything we've discussed tonight is for educational purposes only. I'm not providing individualized financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult with qualified professionals for guidance specific to your situation.